Okay, so this is part two of the filter to the tutorial on filters. And what we did before is we were setting a filter to filter out anything that was between a date range. Let's continue with that. We could also make a filter that would filter a from and a to. If you leave the from checkbox unselected, it goes back to the very first date on your computer. So it's going to include anything from as early as your very first date, whatever that happens to be. If you leave the to checkbox unchecked, then that's going to include everything up to the most recent file date and time on your computer, and that would likely be whatever today's date is. Let's say you had set this up to start from 1/1/2011. It's going to back up everything that has been created since then. You could also do the same thing for modified and accessed. That way you're not going to even worry about backing up, no matter what your filters are set as, any kind of old installation files that were on your machine. Like if you look here, you can see that the date of this NTLDR file was 4/4/2008. By setting up these filters that way, these date filters, I'm going to exclude those without having to do much work at all to get them there. The file size works essentially the same way. If you were not worried about small files, if you weren't worried about extremely large files, if most of the data that you wanted to back up was PDFs, Adobe PDF files, Word documents, Excel sheets, you could probably set an upper limit that would um, cap those files. So you could set a limit at um, 1 meg, or you could set a limit at 50 meg, and it's not going to back up any file that's bigger than 50 meg. And again, that applies only to this backup set that we're currently working on. You can set a range for that as well. This would come in where you could use this potentially is with an online backup. If you didn't have the quickest internet access and you wanted to exclude any file that was, say, over 50 meg from your online backup set to save bandwidth, for example, this would be the place where you could go in and edit that file. Again, if you leave the from checkbox unselected, it'll back up anything from 0K or 0 bytes all the way up to 50 meg. If you leave the to checkbox done, it will start here, whatever this happens to be, 10 meg, for example, and it'll back up files that meet the filter from 10 meg on up to ever how big your biggest one is. The final section on the filters tab is your exclude files with these attributes. Again, we were talking about the attributes for the file being backed up. If you'll remember in other videos, we went and looked at the file attribute. We'll get rid of these guys real quick, and we'll go down and look at the attribute. And in the other videos, we looked at the attribute for the backup to indicate whether the file had been backed up or not. Let's see, maybe we got one there. I don't know. You can see that the A flag, the attribute, the archive flag was set, and there are other attribute flags that the system uses, that the computer system uses, such as read-only, hidden, and system. And those attribute flags, you can filter your backup set based on those attributes. For example, a file that's read-only, in other words, a file that you can't write to or delete, could be excluded from your backup set. Hidden files, a lot of times these will be files that the operating system or other applications use to run, but they will hide them so that you can't see them. Again, by default, you can't see them in like Windows Explorer. You can't go in and look at them in a window like this, but they're still there. You could exclude those. A lot of times they're not going to be your data files. Your data file will typically not be hidden. And then system files, your DLLs, your different system files. Um, this is where I would caution that you want to, this is going to, using these filters are going to help you clean up the data that you're backing up and help you have a more efficient, compact backup set, whether you're backing up online or locally, or a combination of the two. Um, but you need to understand how the data that's important to you works. If your database file is hidden, and you know, realistically, if I were a developer, I might choose to hide the database file so someone can't come in and accidentally delete it. I might choose to hide some of the files that my program uses for just that reason. I don't want someone to accidentally go in thinking that they're cleaning up their hard drive and delete the folder. So I may hide them. If you go in and you filter out all the hidden folders and hidden files, then you're not going to be backing that data up. So again, it's important to your understand your environment and understand what needs you have in order to back those up. It's kind of like driving a car. You need to know enough about the car to operate it safely. Just having the keys in your hand isn't going to do it. Having a backup program and setting some settings, um, you could be shooting yourself in the foot. So use these filters very carefully. Again, I would encourage you to get to know what data you need, to know what the little gotchas are for your particular situation, so that you can make decisions smartly when you're setting up these filters. That concludes the video on filters. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions on them, please feel free to give a call. If we can help you set them up or anything, we're more than willing to help. Appreciate you watching.